Have you ever seen a mount suddenly move when it absolutely shouldn't move? A recent video from the Space Koala showed just that. And I'm usually very scared about copyright issues. So instead of showing you this Space Koala video, here a small reenactment of the incident.
What is that thing? Whoa!
Now I'm kidding. Thankfully, it wasn't that disastrous. But Luca actually loaded her huge C14 SCT scope on top of an AM7. And then actually it got ugly quite quickly. The mount slipped, and based on the motion, almost her tripod was tipped over and her C14 could have been destroyed. Thankfully, the tripod could actually hold up the fall and nothing happened. But it looks pretty scary, and I recommend that you actually watch her video. I put the link in the description below. Now Luca went with her video one way, showing you her tripod, which actually saved her scope. Now I want to go in a different direction because I feel this incident is a wake-up call for how much you can trust a harmonic drive, like here an AM5 or in her case an AM7, how much such a mount really can carry, and what all the precautions are that you can take that you do not end up damaging your scope. And today I want to break it down in a very simple way, because this topic is actually misunderstood a lot of times from very different angles. Because remember what I said at the beginning, that her AM7 slipped. Now, funny enough, Luca did not mention this word slipping at all. And perhaps the reason why she did not mention it is that slipping can mean a lot of different things. Sometimes it's the drive system reaching its torque limits. Sometimes it is backdriving. Sometimes the telescope saddle slips. And sometimes the mount is not the problem at all, because the whole system is simply starting to tip over. So in this video, I want to answer 5 very important questions. Why can a harmonic drive like this one slip at all? Can that be prevented? Is it normal that a mount like this can slip if it is just a little bit overloaded? Is this an isolated problem of Civo mounts who have a quality problem, or is this generic to harmonic mounts? And how should we really interpret this maximum payload that we can, based on the brand's information, mount on such a harmonic drive? So first of all, what do people really mean when they state that the mount is slipping? In fact, is a lot of times they mean very different things with it. And that really matters because it depends on what happened. And the possibility number one is, and that's what we have seen in Luca's video, the drive can no longer hold the load. And this is also what most commonly is understood by slipping. So the mount is under too much torque, so gravity wins, and the axis moves when it shouldn't be moving. That can happen because the motor stalls or misses steps. It can also happen because the system is backdriven. And in the most extreme cases, it can even happen inside of the harmonic drive itself, where the gear teeth no longer mesh the way they are intended to do under the excessive load. And in the engineering world, this is commonly called ratcheting. So yes, harmonic drive can move unexpectedly without being completely broken. And why this happened in Luca's case, where actually the weight of the C14 was within the specification that Civo gives for the AM7, we will look at later, but there is an explanation. Now the possibility number 2 is that something else slips. and not the mount itself. And one good possibility is the altitude adjustment mechanism. If you do not tightly close these screws after you have actually done your polar alignment, there is a chance, when you have a big load on it, that this will actually give in and start slipping. And then another thing that can actually slip, and that's really a worst case, is the saddle clamp. If you don't tighten that well enough, or if the dovetail is in the wrong angle when you tighten it, suddenly it can get loose. Now you might actually see on my Eagle that I put here some screws in there. And these screws, they have exactly the purpose in case this would start slipping and this would start moving backwards, so that these screws actually hold the whole thing on the saddle and not the whole scope slips to the ground. And that's actually a lesson learned I made myself, where I once my 103 APO saw starting to slip, and that was also a really scary moment. But at this point I could still catch it. But since then, all my mounts have a catch mechanism like that, just to be sure. And then a third possibility is that it's not really slipping, but that it's tipping. And that's also something that you can observe on the video of Luca. Because in a setup like this, everything might look fine. But when actually the center of gravity starts to move outside of the support area of the tripod, then the whole thing can tip over. That's also the sole reason why we need counterweights. But just be aware that also counterweights can only do so much, especially because, for example, with the AM5, SIBO tells you not to put more counterweights than 5 kilograms on there. Otherwise, you overload again the harmonic drive. So depending on what scope you have on top here, it will be way more on this side than the 5 kilograms, even if it's far out. So that's just always something to remember. And that is also where Luca focused on, having the right tripod. And let's just address that right now. Personally, if I see some point where SIBO really is at fault, looking at Luca's case, then it's exactly that they kind of recommend their own tripod, the TC40, to buy with the AM7. And that's dangerous. From my point, it's even irresponsible and it's misleading to their customers. Nobody expects them to build a larger tripod, because be it now here the Berlebach, be it the one that Luca presents in her video, there are good tripods out there who work fine together with an AM7, with an AM5, but SIBO should not try to sell the TC40, because it's too light, it's too small, it introduces vibration, it makes no sense at all. It actually makes only borderline sense for the AM5. I covered this in another video, and so I have a hard time understanding here that SIBO does not just admit that, recommends valid tripods which are made for the loads that you put on the AM7 or even on an AM5. So that would be the first thing I would recommend you to take from this video. Never ever put a TC40 on an AM7, and think very hard before you buy a TC40 with an AM5, but rather go with a Berlebach or one of the other options, which are really solid tripods, which are made for the loads that you put on these mounts. And the second recommendation, which comes right with it, is always put a counterweight on these mounts, except you put something extremely lightweight on top of it. But otherwise, if you balance it out nicely, it will perform better and it's just safer. But with all of that out of the way, let's go back to the slipping. So what is mechanically actually happening that such a harmonic drive slips. And just to be clear, such a harmonic drive is light, it's powerful, it's compact, so it's an amazing alternative to the traditional worm gear drives. And so that's why so many people like it. That's why so many people buy it today. But what we forget is that it's not a magic box. The laws of physics still apply. And so such a drive will still obey the same laws of torque, leverage, inertia, and stability as any other mount. And so the reason number one that these drives can slip is that the motor runs out of margin. Because a lot of these mounts use stepper motors. And these stepper motors, they're great, but they have a torque margin. And if the required torque gets too high, they can miss a step or stall. An important point here is to make that this can happen before anything breaks. So you might hear strange noises, the axis might hesitate, then jump, or the mount might lose its position. And so this is what people then perceive as slipping. Now the second reason is that the drive overload can cause ratcheting. And that's the scarier one. If the load is excessive enough, the tooth engagement inside the drive can momentarily give way. Again, that does not mean instant catastrophic damage, but it's definitely not something you want to have regularly. Because if it happens, it can actually decrease the ratchet point in the future, so it will happen more regularly, and so on and so on. So if it ever happens to you, take it as a warning signal that you're overloaded and make sure it doesn't happen again. And the reason number three, backdriving when the power is off or the braking is limited. Traditional worm gear drives, they have a lot of disadvantages, but they're usually more resistant to being driven backwards. Harmonic drive systems can be backdriven under sufficient load, especially when the motor is unpowered or an axis is not braked. And note that with servo mounts, only the RA axis has a brake, the other one not. And that means the dangerous moments of slipping are not only when the drive is in use, but also afterwards when the power is removed. Just something to think about. And the last point, low voltage can make the situation worse. So if the mount is already at its limits and the voltage drops, the available torque can drop too. So servo states that 10.8 volts is the low voltage threshold, which matters because slewing demands more power than simply tracking. So a weak power supply or a bad cable might make a borderline setup ready for a disaster. And so with that, we can also say that this is not an issue of servo mounts per se, but of all harmonic drives, that you're just aware of the limits of such drives. But now we come to the most interesting question, and that is, why did Luca's mount slip if her C14, even with all the camera and everything, was still in this allowed threshold of 30 kilograms? So everything should be fine. Did Sivo lie with the 30 kilograms? And that's where the whole thing gets a little bit uncomfortable. Because from an engineering point of view, this incident made a lot of sense. And that does not mean it is good, but it means it's not surprising. Why? Because first of all, we have to understand that slightly overloaded in kilograms can become heavily overloaded in torque. And torque is all that matters. Because small changes in load, balance, center of mass, and motion can have a much bigger impact than you might expect, especially when you add dynamic loads during slews and flips. And here is the key idea. if the center of mass moves further away from the mount axis, torque goes up. Same mass, more distance, more torque. That means the setup can be technically within the limits, but it's still already outside the limit what the mount can safely handle, because the weight is too far away from the axis. And that's especially the case for, you guessed it, SCTs, because they're huge, which means the center of the SCT is far away from the axis. Also an impact when you have long refractors, when you have a heavy camera with a filter wheel, and anything else that gives more weight far away from the axis. And with that, we come to the most important part of the video, the most important takeaway for you. And that's the little known truth about payload rating. No matter if we talk about Zevo or any other harmonic drives, there is a payload rating, 20 kilograms, 30 kilograms, whatever, and that does not necessarily mean the weight of your setup. Because payload ratings are in reality torque ratings. How much torque can a system tolerate before it starts slipping? Because when we talk now about the AM7, to stay with the Space Koala case, Zevo ties the 20 kilogram no counterweight rating to a maximum output torque of 40 Newton meters. And that again is equivalent to a 20 centimeter lever arm. And so in my case here, that's 20 centimeters, and I'm actually still in this tolerance. But with a C14 SCT, the center is far out, and the impact it has on the weight tolerance is drastic. So in the example of the no counterweight situation, 20 centimeters, we are at 20.4 kilograms limit. If we go to 30 centimeters, just 10 centimeters more, we're only at 13.6. And if we go even more to 40 centimeters, then we're only at 10 kilograms, so half of it. Which means if we go with a counterweight and the 30 kilograms, if you go 40 centimeters out, you're at 15 kilograms. And now suddenly it makes total sense why the C14 slipped. So to sum this all up now, if you want to be safe, if you want to have your scope to be safe, number one, if you have a heavy scope, forget the TC40. And if you already have one, sell it and get a right tripod. There are a lot of good tripods around. I really like my Berlebach. It's heavy, but that's what I want. I want a heavy, stable tripod. The one that Luca shows is a great alternative, and there are countless others. But the Zevo TC40 is a very nice, lightweight travel tripod for the AM3, but it's not made for anything else. Number two, get a counterweight. And number three, and most importantly, understand that the weight limits of a mount have some meaning, and that especially with SCTs, you might really have to calculate through it to see if the mount can carry them. And so this obviously makes a lot of sense either before you buy your large SCT, if you already have a mount, or before you buy your mount that you need for your SCT, that you really double check if it's the right match. And if you want to have that in white paper style, nicely written down, I posted that on my Patreon channel. Link is in the description below. See you next time, and clear skies.